Hello, my name is James Williams Jr., and this is Kung Fu Havoc number 2. So, I mentioned something that sounds slightly racist, so this is probably not for the open minded or the mature or the pure at heart, and this may sound slightly racist. So, earlier today, I posted a thing on Facebook which I asked if white people were naturally braver than other people of color. I left off Asians and Native Americans because they're basically the same. So, one of my friends, and I love you, and I'm not going to mention your name, I'm not going to put you on blast, but apparently, if he is part Native American, he must not know everything about Native Americans the same way that I didn't know. I had to be taught a lot about Native American history from a Korean and books, and he pitched some science to me. Alright, well, here's my theory on science. I can't stop you from believing what you want, and you can believe in the Bible, Greek mythology, or Darwin, or the scientists that say we come from fish, or the scientists that say that we're one big ass alien experiment that went completely wrong and they're just watching us from the sky. So here's your thing. Alright, being that I'm partially Cherokee and Native Americans, I had to learn that Native Americans are Asian. I didn't believe that, and no matter how much DNA science has produced, there may be some Russian genome, there may be some European genome, but it's mostly Asian DNA. Eskimos are also Asian. They're also Native American. You probably can't read this because it's probably going to show up backwards. But Mongolian stock. This means they're Asian. Now that guy up the front, he's not all that great looking. Can't really use him as a thing. But see that little girl right there? You look at her face. Yeah. Alright. So, now we have this. And in the highlighted area, if you can read that, don't know if it'll focus, but if you can read that, you know, I went way back to find these books. But in case you can't read it, let me read it out for you. The first Indians came to America from Asia more than 20,000 years ago. Much of the earth that is now underwater was dry land when the Indians came from Asia. What does that mean? It means that they are fucking Asian. Alright? So, I'm not all the way Asian because I'm also black and white, but I have more Native American traits than my black traits or my white traits. But I go by multicultural because that's what I am. I feel more Native American than most, but it is what it is. Now let me explain. The reason why there are different skin tones, like Eskimos are lighter, they're in a colder climate, and when it's cold, most people are pale. And also, climate changes. So most Eskimos are fairly light skinned. Now, depending on tribal and if you haven't like mixed without tribal people, you know, like you're not like black or white mixed in, your skin tone should be a copper or a high yellow color. Now, there are Native Americans who are exceptionally light. My great grandmother on my father's side looked like she was completely light skinned, as in like Chinese color, but she's Cherokee, full blooded Cherokee from the Powhite Reservation in the Richmond area. Alright? See, knowing your heritage is very important because if you don't know where you came from, you don't know where the hell you're gonna go. Now, the thing about like that big clusterfuck that Donald Trump rescinded Obama's protection order for the Sioux Nation. Donald Trump's not Native American. His ancestors were European. Europeans already took the land. They already took the rights. Native Americans didn't have rights until like 1914, maybe 1920 something. I did a video on that, so whenever that is, that one's more accurate than what I'm saying now. Now, let me explain how this came to be. So a few years back, okay, over 20 years back, I had this son of a preacher was a friend of mine, and we took a public speaking class because I had to come out of my shell. And I did this for my acting class because to be an actor, you have to be open. You have to be willing to subdue yourself to things that most people really aren't willing to bend and do. All right? So, most of my life, people haven't known what I was. And even my Spanish teacher thought I was Mexican, and Mexicans are Native Americans. Aztec, Incans, Mayans all came from the Native American genome. They weren't here when you think they were. Nope, they came with everyone else. See, when the American Indians splintered to America over 20,000 years plus now, because this encyclopedia is like 1980 something or even earlier. Hell, I can tell you in a minute. Find the byline. This encyclopedia came out in 1972. Yeah. Now, granted, updates and things have been added to new encyclopedias, but old school is always going to be closer to right than wrong, regardless of what the scientists say, because science is shaded in mystery. The only thing science have proven to be correct is that the original man was found in Africa, which means we're all black. Alright, even Asians, we're all black. Now, so to get this straight, so that you all understand, I was doing martial arts at PVCC, working my bow staff, just getting it on. This little guy, well, he's bigger than me, he comes barreling ass up there, and I could see from far away that he was an Asian dude. So here I was thinking, this dude's about to kick my ass, because as much as I do kung fu, I'm not them. So I'm thinking, oh God, now I'm going to be put to the real test, because I never fought an Asian guy before I started making movies in sparring matches and shit. I've always had to spar against somebody black or somebody white. I've never really sparred against someone who's actually from the motherland of martial arts, which again is a misconception, because technically martial arts supposedly started in Egypt. Check it out. It's true. They have hieroglyphics of that, and black man was first man. But the Asians took it and ran with it and made it better. So there you go. Let's even that out. Now, so I'm working at the staff, just whipping it around, doing all kinds of stuff. And here comes my friend. I'm going to leave his name off for posterity. But Mr. Kim, I haven't forgotten you. And I thank you for opening me up to my heritage. So he's also a son of a preacher and a graphic designer, or at least that's what he was going to school for. I don't know, because we lost touch with each other. Him and his friends used my face as a likeness for a comic character. Don't know how far that went, but if it went great, I don't want any money, just recognition. Anyway, moving back to the story. So I'm whipping out, and when he got there, he was stunned, and he said, "Oh, damn, I thought you were Chinese." I was like, "Yeah, I'm so far away from fucking Chinese, you have no idea." He goes, "Well, what are you mixed with?" I said, "Well, I'm Cherokee Indian. I'm also black and white." He's like, "Well, Native Americans are Asian." I laughed in his face. I'm glad we didn't bet money on it, because I surely would have lost. Anyway, so I'm telling him, we were arguing about this shit for like 3 days. And I'm like, dude, and it probably wasn't 3 days exact, but for medicinal purposes, it was like 3 days. Anyway, so we're arguing because we had the class like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and the argument that stopped on Monday started on Wednesday and continued on into Friday. So we're arguing about this. He said, "You know what? After class, we're going to the fucking library, and I'm gonna prove to you where your people come from." And I'm sitting there laughing, like, this fella has no fucking idea that we've been in America for almost a century or better. So I'm laughing my ass off on the inside. So, when I found out he was the son of a preacher, I kind of cut my mouth back on swearing. So I'm just laughing. Just laughing. And so we go there, we get these encyclopedias, and we get these dictionaries, and we get that other thing, and we get a Native American history book. All those things I just highlighted and showed you are in those books. As I got older, I Googled stuff on the internet. Same things that I've highlighted and showed you are in those books. Now, before that, I'll be the first to tell you, I always thought that Native Americans were descendants of Atlanteans. which for those who don't know, if you believe in the story of Atlantis, they were the um, more advanced civilization. Now, hold it. Before you judge me, let me explain. In Native American folklore, we have Bigfoot, Coyote the Trickster, we have the Deer Woman. The Eskimos have one with the little bear girl. I forgot what it's called, but she's a polar bear, like goddess or whatever. Now, in my Love 13 graphic novel, which I'm still looking for a publisher or whatever, I touch on all these things, but I also touch on Greek mythology and I also touch on Chinese and Japanese lore. So, with the fox fairies and stuff like that. Now, Native Americans, they have fairies. Not really good fairies, but they have bad fairies and they have good fairies. But, you know, it depends on your tribe. Everybody knows Coyote, and a lot of people don't know the Deer Woman, but everybody knows Thunderbird and everybody knows the Yetis, right? Treaties were made between us and supernatural creatures, which is what I believe that they were descendants of Atlanteans, which I thought that's why they were stuck in America instead of everywhere else. But since Atlantis was the superior knowledge people, a lot of people believe that anyone who was born from Atlantis had space blood. So we're not going to go into all that detail. But here I was talking to Mr. Kim, thinking, you know, this guy has no clue that Native Americans have been around America like fucking forever. When I got to these books, and by the grace of God and knowing how to read, which sometimes can be a blessing, sometimes can be a curse, it was like a slap in the face. All this time I thought my people were special because we talk to animals, we transform into animals, we pray to animals before we eat them, we do things that most people don't do or consider doing and things like that, and teepees and rain dances and wigwams and boats, canoes, kayaks, all the interesting good stuff. And then I read those lines. The first Indians came to America from Asia over 2,000 years ago. It's 20,000, but for reasons to shorten this video, I fucking died right there in that library. I almost literally broke down into tears. I wasn't going to cry in front of him, but I wanted to cry because all my life, all I've ever known was what my grandmother Ada had taught me. Because in the summertime, until I was 12, you know, whichever summers that I didn't miss with my dad, I spent a lot of time with my great grandmother. And my aunt, who will totally contest this or totally confess this, that my grandma Ada really liked all the light-skinned children because we resembled her. So she wasn't like not an exact racist, but she had her prejudiced ways about pale-face and non-pale-face people. For those who don't speak that, that would be whites and blacks. Alright? So I'm pretty sure when my grandmother brought my grandfather home, she probably wasn't very fucking thrilled. I can't spell. Sorry. Responding to a text. So anyway, a friend of mine's in somewhat dire straits. Anyway, so I got to reading these things, man. I'm like, what? Because then it got down to the point where it started talking about Aztecs, Incans, and Mayans. I'm like, those guys are South American. The ones in the Amazon and Brazil and all that crap. And I'm like, what? This isn't possible. It's possible. And it hurt me to my soul because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, damn, you know, Grandma Ada never told me how far tribes went. She really barely talked about her tribal life at all outside of when they had to integrate into white schools and shit like that. No, they didn't have a bus. They had to walk through the woods in their moccasins and shit to go to school. And they had to dress the white way instead of wearing the Native American garb. And that there kind of set me on my journey. You know, and my journey has taken lots of bumps and bruises, but every now and again I come back to a Native American thing, And I've watched a lot of Native American stuff on TV about the pipeline and shit like that. And I embrace my Native American heritage a little bit more than I embrace my black heritage or my white heritage. Now I know you guys are probably thinking, well, James, that's just racist of you. Okay, now I must go back into the times of school. When I was younger, when I was maybe fifth grade, no, yeah, fifth grade is when I discovered that I was part Native American. But before that time, I just thought I was black. Just thought I was a lucky black guy with great hair and all the other stuff. However, be that as it may, no, my hair is curly because of the white geno. Apparently, I got enough of each one that the hair is the only thing that didn't get the Native American gene. So, it kind of ended that pipeline right there. But, it's closer to straight than it is to black hair, which has been a obsessive problem during school with people becoming bullies and picking. They found something to tear me down one way or another. And, no one wants to go home and cry to their mother, especially since I fought in the streets. I knew Kung Fu. Mama wouldn't let me fight at school. Now, back on the subject matter. So, as I'm going through all this stuff, Native American culture and things like that, and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, cowboys and Indian movies used to come on. And my first comic book that I ever read at 3 years old was called Jonah Hex. He was a cowboy. He killed Indians. Lone Ranger and Tonto, sometimes they kill Indians. And then my mom loved Westerns. But I could never understand why the Indians were always the bad guys. Because history's mysteries are full of lies and deceits and shades of gray that we aren't allowed to discuss in school. Now, to prove my point, so did you see all of those things are there? This over here, this is America. Alright? So up here is when they start branching out. Oh, fuck, y'all can't see none of that. I'm sorry. When they started branching out, and this thing here tells you just how much tribes went to where, right? Before Christopher Columbus fucked up and gave them the name Indians. Now, this one's going to be fun for you, because I'm going to show you a tribal, key thing. So, it'll show you what they all have in common and what they don't have in common. So here you have your tribal stuff, alright? And you have north, eastern woodlands, the plains, northwest coast, California, southwest, middle America, Caribbean, the Andes, tropical forests, and migratory areas. For those who can't see any of that, you can always find these encyclopedias. They will guide your light. So basically, the only thing that really differs with most tribes, besides traditions, are homes and weapons. Alright? And, so most of the things that you don't really see coming until it smacks you in the face. So, you have the Eskimos have kayaks, while most other tribes have canoes. Eskimos also have toboggans. Most other tribes don't have that because most other tribes have flat or rocky terrain where there's no ice or dogs required to pull them places. And most of them had horses. But all of their armor and stuff, most of their weapons pretty much look exactly the same. Bows, spears, maces, that kind of thing. Swords made out of animal teeth and sticks. Blowguns. Yeah, really all depends on how you look at it. Then I've never had buffalo meat. I'm still waiting to try that. And you had their toys and their artifacts and things like that. And it's It's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. But these things are important to me to just state facts. You know, when Mr. Kim taught me the origins of my ancestors, it really hurt my feelings because all the time that I've been born and somewhere in school they taught us this, that we crossed the land bridge and everything known as the Bering Straits, and I simply just forgot it. Simply as that. So when I've met other people who are not Native American but are of Asian places like Korea or Vietnam and stuff like that, they would mistake me for someone who would be basically considered a dust child, and that was cool. And I had to explain to them, well, um, I am not one of you guys. I'm part Cherokee Indian. So during that year, also, I had this Spanish teacher from Spain. Now this part gets racist, so if you're Mexican, I apologize. All right, but it's also funny. It's funny as fuck. So if you're Mexican, I apologize because this probably doesn't happen to you very often, but it happens to me a lot. I'm not Mexican, but lots of people think that I am. Lots of people also think that I'm Hawaiian and Samoan and everything else under the sun whose eyes slightly slant. My eyes only slant when I smile. I only smile when I'm punching someone in the face. We're thinking about it, which is almost all the time, but most of the time I smile when I'm getting ready to hit somebody. Okay, so we're in Spanish class. The Spanish book is as thick as that encyclopedia. And so I'm like failing Spanish so bad. You're failing really bad when your Spanish teacher, who's not Mexican but Spanish from Spain, tells you, James, you've been in my class for 3 weeks and you have not been able to speak Spanish. You should know Spanish by heart because you're Mexican. Man, I didn't turn red, but I got pissed for like a split second. Like just a split second. I said, ma'am, I hate to tell you this, but you need some serious fucking culture. It's like, what, you're not Mexican? I said, hell no, I'm not Mexican. I'm fucking Cherokee, black and white. So I'm not Mexican. He's like, what? She like was blown the fuck away. It was like she got hit by a fucking nuclear bomb. And it's like, yeah, I'm not a Mexican. I was like, if I was a Mexican, I'm pretty sure that I would know Spanish. By the way, that is a stereotype. I have met Mexicans who only came up in a one language home, and their language unfortunately happens to be English. So they had to learn Spanish when they came to school. And I've known people from Asia who had to take English classes in school. While we were doing other things, they had to take English class to speak English in school. So it works both ways. But she literally, when I told her that I was Cherokee and black and white, she turned red and was the most apologetic white lady from Spain that I've ever seen. Now, just in case you guys don't know, not all Spanish people are Mexican. Some Spanish people are actually white. Christopher Columbus was from Spain, and he was a white man or a European, so that you guys won't think I'm being racist. But I mean, she turned red as fucking fire. She felt so fucking bad. And she's like, yeah, I just told you to cheat, and I called you a Mexican. I said, you think you're the first person to have called me a Mexican? I said, I'm not a Mexican. But, you know, sorry. Anyway, so I'm sitting there and I'm like, sometimes you should ask people things before you open up your mouth. Now, 2 years before that, when I had first started college, second part, see you soon.